We're going to start again with General Sessions Court, and we're going to have an opportunity to walk through your budget. We're excited that you all are here. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to introduce who you've brought with you so that the viewing audience at home knows who's here, and then I'm going to turn it to Talia, and she'll go from there. So I'll let you all start.
My name's Warner Hassel. I'm Court Administrator with General Sessions Court.
My name is Rachel Bill. I'm the presiding judge for General Sessions Court here today, and we have Judge Casey Norland here, and we have Judge Linda Jones, as well as Judge Melissa Blackburn. We have our Probation Department Director, Bob Green, here. We have our Mental Health Court and Veterans Court Director, Stephen Murph, here. We have our Drug Court Program Director, Natalie Broadway, here. We have our presiding Judicial Commissioner, Carolyn Pipe, is here. We have our Director of Traffic School and Education and his staff member, John Slate and Shannon Hodge. And we have our Veterans Court Director with the Veterans Court of Innovation, Mr. Mark Winslow.
Gina Fox.
And Gina Fox, way in the back, sorry, who's the assistant to Warner Hassel in the Court Administration Office.
Well, thank you, Judge, and thank you, judges, and everyone for being here. Warner, I'm going to let Talia start this, and then we'll turn it back to you.
We have General Sessions Court here today. They are affectionately known as the People's Court. They hear criminal, civil, environmental, and voluntary mental health committals, Metro Codes complaints, and traffic cases. Their current budget from Metro is $10.6 million. They have about $104,000 of grants, $182,000 of other resources, and 122 budgeted FTEs. They have a FY17 budget improvement request of $1.2 million, and they will be walking us through the components of that detail.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Before we get started, as you indicated, we are the People's Court, and I want you to, I want to start the tone of the conversation today with the mayor. I'm really excited about the conversation to be kind of interactive and question and answer, so we do appreciate that. But one of the main focuses that our judges, our courthouse, that we're focused on are three quotes, and one of them is inscribed on the building, that the first duty of society is justice, and that was a quote by Alexander Hamilton, and also that justice is what love looks like in public, and that justice does not stop at the courthouse steps. So a lot of what we're talking about today for community development, innovation, public safety, as well as education and training, we want to start with that tone. And also, we're asking the government, we're asking for the mayor to consider putting, and it's very important that our justice system is considered one of the components of public safety. Without judges and the judiciary partnering with the police, the sheriff, being one of those entities that is conforming to society and making sure that we're protecting society, we really need to be considered under that threshold of public safety. So I want you to consider that as we're talking today.
Okay, great.
So in our first grouping, we're grouping our themes with community responsibility, development, and innovation. And in that tier, we're asking the mayor's office to implement the study from the night court recommendations. Across the country, our night court commissioners are underfunded. We're one of the only states and cities that has a 24/7 program, which is amazing, and it really, really takes care of our victims and individuals that are needing protection across the lines of our city. And our judicial commissioners work really, really hard. There are times where they're having to decide what's priority, a mental health committal, the sheriff, or a police officer right in front of them trying to get a search warrant, or an order of protection coming from the Gene Crow Advocacy Center. Without having the full support in that office, really makes it really hard for them to effectively do their job. I don't know if Warner has any additions that he wants to add, but we did provide you with the study a few months back.
Yes, I remember.
We had a discussion about that, and we want to hone in specifically on page number 9, where it talks about the recommendations of addressing salary inequities across the state.
So Judge, let me just, because I know that this is your number one priority, is making sure that we actually have a night court and taking those recommendations. So I want to make sure I understand that this would increase by 2 the part-time commissioners working and 2 full-time rotating during the weekend, so we'd be adding staff, is that right?
Right, during peak periods.
Okay.
During designated peak periods. It may not be all 7 days of the week, but it would be during peak periods, and we'll do some further analysis to see when those peak periods would be.
And would those be new FTEs?
Yes.
So this is, okay, got it. And so we're looking at 2 full and 2 part-time?
And we're at the same staffing level we've been in night court for 30 years, so, or more than 30 years.
Got it. Okay.
What this is going to allow us to do is to overlap our shifts during peak periods, and I think one of those peak periods happen to be Mondays, believe it or not, because that's when most of the orders of protection come in.
So let's
After the
talk about
weekend.
that. So, because clearly, I think when we talk about priorities and trying to figure out, we have a lot of requests, trying to hone in on where we can provide the best dollar and public safety component. So tell me about how that would help with public safety, specifically as it relates to domestic violence.
Well, on Mondays, we have, I've been told, is one of our peak periods, because a lot of the victims are coming in and applying for orders of protection on Monday after the weekends. Big pile of that. Well, we still have all the criminal offenses and all the regular business that goes on. It's just, again, it's like Judge Bell said, it's priorities. Which one do you give? Because it's one night court commissioner there all by themselves. There is no staff there with them as far as general session staff.
Additional funding would help with making sure that domestic violence victims are seen in a more timely manner, or, okay.
Exactly.
And also the mental health committals, we want to make sure that those individuals that, are harm or threat to themselves or others, that, we address it in a timely manner. And we're doing the best we can, but it's just really hard. Our judicial commissioners do a fabulous, amazing job, but it's time, for us to, we got the study, we had some individuals come, they prepared a lengthy document for us to review, but the most important thing in here is getting the salary inequities consistent with the trends across the country as well.
So talk to me about that for a second, because it sounds like that's different than, the salary request is different than what you're asking me to do from a funding perspective on bringing in people who would actually be able to take some of that load.
Right. The study looked at cities our size that
Right.
have the full-time, and ours were much lower than even Chattanooga and Knoxville and Memphis as well.
Right. They have both Knoxville as well as Shelby County are roughly 10 to 12% more, get paid that much more than we do, than our commissioners do.
Could you clarify for her, out of the $268,000, how much of that is for the salary equity adjustments?
48,900 is for the salary adjustment for the commissioners.
Thank you.
Also, on the public safety part is when these shifts are overlapping, we're getting the police officers back on the street faster.
Right.
They're not having to stay there. If
Right.
we're choosing the victim of a domestic violence order of protection as opposed to a police officer, this way we can get them both back.
Got it. The second request that y'all have, your number 2 priority, was the general fund support of the drug treatment court and the mental health court. So walk me through that $185,000 on how that's going to make a difference in our community if we allocate those dollars to these programs.
Well, first of all, the funding source historically for drug testing as well as housing and care for the individuals that are in those 2 specialty courts has come from a dedicated fund, the DUI excess fine fund.
And that's going down.
And that's going down. DUI arrests are down. Convictions are down as a result of the arrests. So the funding, that's been the exclusive funding source for most of the direct services for those 2 specialty courts. So this would assist in providing the sufficient funding for drug testing for those 2 specialty courts, as well as halfway house and housing for some of those folks that is short-term in nature.
Does this increase capacity at all, or does this just maintain our current
Just
level of-
maintain the current level because the dedicated funds are, it's just very difficult to.
They're about to be wiped out.
And the trends, just so we can give, and I'll hand this to you if it's okay, but the Conference of Chief Justices and the Conference of State Court Administrators across the country, the trend now is for the position of court functions to be funded by the general operating fund of the state and local governments, and not just to charge the offenders for that cost.
Sure, I mean,
to ensure that the judiciary can fulfill this obligation to the city itself. So
Well,
that is.
I mean, clearly, penalizing people for being poor and charging them on top of that, continuing that cycle is not the goal.
Right.
So that's kind of where this is coming from a little bit.
Well, as far as the increased position in drug court, that would increase our capacity.
It would.
And we have about 120 participants and have one employee. And that one employee helps with our Cherished Hearts program now too, but I promised you I wouldn't ask for anything for that for right now.
So the next request has to do with ongoing CLE for judges, and I think it's a $67,000 request. How have we done that in the past, and what has been, why this request now?
Well, I think we've been cut 15 out of the last 16 years, and we've been bare bones for a long time now, and that's just been one of the areas that we had to cut or lay people off, essential court personnel. So we've just gone from having some to not having any hardly.
Well, so how do y'all get your CLE? Don't you guys have to do it?
They
They pay for it out of.
We pay for it out of pocket.
Okay,
I mean, we have no travel at all.
We just had this conversation with our own Metro Legal.
Right.
But we do have a statute, and I know that we've always reinforced asking our local government to adhere and enforce the statute. It's Tennessee Code annotated Statute 17-3204 that it says
I saw that reference.
Okay. So we'll ask the mayor's office to enforce that statute if you're able to.
You'll take me to court?
No.
Okay, I'm just checking.
We won't do that. We would just like the mayor to consider reviewing and adhering to the statute.
I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay, let me just keep going here. Let's see, I got these other ones. Case record management enhancement for drug court treatment. Again, what is that? That's the position you were just.
Yes, ma'am.
That would increase your capacity.
Correct.
All right. Let's see. Number 7, which is the case management positions for mental health court. Currently, we have a lot of mental health. We have a contract I know that we use through our homeless commission. We've got different providers in the who give us mental health capacity. Would we want to pony up on some of the stuff that we've already done? Why would these, it sounds like these would be new positions that would be Metro positions as opposed to outsourcing to a contract. Talk to me about why, Judge, this is, important, because it's a significant ask.
Stephen, if you just, thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Hi.
What this would allow us to do, Madam Mayor, is actually would allow us to advance increase our capacity.
You're welcome to come up to a microphone,
So sorry.
Stephen, so that way the folks at home can hear you.
We are operating at the same capacity the court has operated at since what year, Stephen?
Since 2004.
Okay, here, turn that y'all towards you.
And what this would allow us to do, Mayor, is it would allow us to increase our capacity in mental health court so that we are able to provide the intensive mental health and co-occurring substance abuse issues that or assistance that we currently need to deal with. Currently, right now, each of our intensive case managers, there's a roughly approximate caseload of about 95 each.
Okay.
Generalized probation, I believe their numbers are below 100. Now, you have to understand, our probation officers or client specialists, as we refer to them, are doing intensive probationary work. We're acting from the court system as the conduit to the city, making the referrals to mental health cooperatives, Centerstone, Park Center, albeit any community
That's my
service.
question. So with that case management model, we have Park and we have Centerstone that provide these services for us and also do some case management. Are these parole officers?
In a sense, they're probation officers,
Probation
but they're
officers, sorry.
intensive probation officers working from a mental health perspective.
that are court employees.
Right, no, I was trying to get to, do we need to add 4 new staff, or do we have the capacity to do this from existing contracts and relationships that we have within our overall?
It's specifically new staff members that are required within the mental health court.
And I think what this allows us to do is for the court to continue with its main primary concern, which is public safety, knowing that those are officers of the court that are working with these individuals in this current population that both Veterans Treatment Court and Mental Health Court deals with, knowing that the judge has an understanding of trust, that public safety is our first and foremost concern. We are a not-for-profit entity, so therefore we need to make sure that the court is protecting first and foremost the public safety of the people which is there to serve.
And Judge, take a second and talk about the success of the mental health court and the Veterans Court.
We're doing extremely well. In the last year and a half that I've been the judge, we have graduated how many in Veterans Court?
We have graduated a total of 29 in Veterans Treatment Court with 0 recidivism rate.
Which has been wonderful. And that started in November of 2014. And we will be the first Veterans Treatment Court to be certified this spring in the state, which is exciting. The mental health court, how many have we graduated?
We have graduated 163 to date, with our next graduation on April 7th, and we currently have 22 graduates scheduled for that. And our recidivism rate for that, rate of arrest for that is under 7%.
And how many do we currently have in the court?
Currently, we have 222. That includes outstanding cases that have been issued by the court as well.
Okay, great. Question then on probation officers for the Human Trafficking Court, which is, I think, the next request. So tell me about that.
That's, right now we have no staff
So-
of that. It's starting from scratch.
So this is not adding positions, this is actually creating positions because we don't have anybody over there at the moment.
Correct.
And I also think these probation officers will be bilingual. They'll be able to help our Hispanic population. So they won't specifically just work with Human Trafficking Court, but with all of our divisions as we need them. But specifically, as that caseload grows with Cherish Hearts, that will be their priority.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask an ignorant question. So probation officers work under the court system, they don't work for the police department?
Correct.
Okay,
They're one of our departments.
got it. And how many probation officers do you all have, do you know?
How many probation officers do we currently have?
27. So this would, in essence, we would be adding 2 plus the 3 administrative services officers, or are they different?
Those are the specialized mental health trained probation officers specifically.
So they would still be probation officers. So we'd be adding 5 probation officers to the 27 that we already have.
No.
Well, let's clarify. I think they're just going to be case managers. So for each defendant that we have, each defendant that comes to our courts has a case manager. If they opt into drug court or they opt into mental health court or veterans court, then that specialty court has a certain individual that's a case manager for a certain
So these are case managers, not probation officers.
Correct. Our probation officers work in conjunction with our case management for our specialty courts.
Okay.
So they have a lot of hats, but they do a great job too.
Our courts receive referrals from probation in all general sessions courts and state trial courts as well.
Got it. And then I feel the rest of them I'm aware, but number 12, just I want to ask, since it's pursuant to another TCA statute, Judge.
Yes.
Is this the same request as this looks like a continuing legal education for judges? Is this a new request, or does this go right back to, is it kind of the same?
Yes, we have it listed separately.
That's what we use our travel for.
Got it, okay. And last but not least, who are the judicial commissioners and the continuing legal education for judicial commissioners?
It's our night court.
Okay, those are the night court guys.
Right.
Or girls. All right. Wow.
I have a question.
At least from my perspective. Go ahead.
I want to, just for the audience, drug court, I think receives a significant amount of money from the state. Do they not?
Drug court does not.
It does not anymore? Okay.
That's not at our...
Never has.
Not at our level of court, not
Not
at the
at your
general
level?
sessions.
That's just normal.
Right.
That's what that was going to be my question, I think. I think some of that runs through a foundation.
Now, our foundation does business with the
Okay.
state,
Okay.
and
And is that where the state money flows through that foundation?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The foundation does a lot to support the drug court.
Okay. Okay.
Just overall, because we talked about fees as a reduction, that you're starting to see the DUI fees going down. Where are the other revenue projections that you all see that are also going to go down, that we are going to be faced with in this year, next year, and the 3 years that we're looking at?
On the moving violations from the metro traffic side, the average annual decrease in moving violations since 2012 has been 10% a year. So if you take that on out, unless it bottoms out somewhere or another, that's where we're going to see a decrease. On the probation side of things, that's down. We were projecting a little over $1 million. It's going to be closer between $800,000 to $900,000. So there's a drop there. There's more of the court's utilizing more of the under advisement pleas. And that is a judicial diversion type of thing that the prosecution and defense side come to a compromise and utilize. As a result of that, we cannot collect a probation supervision fee for that type of case. We've checked with Metro Legal to see if we could, but if it's not called probation, but our probation officers, as Mr. Green could allude to, they still have to monitor compliance of those offenders that have under advisement pleas. They have to do community service work and other type of conditions that the court approved, and so there's still some work being done by the probation officers to ensure compliance.
Okay. And I guess this would be a time we could segue into the request for a program director for the community court.
Is that on here?
It is. And we're asking for a program director for the community court so that we can continue to work through our community responsibility development and innovation, which will help all 11 divisions, not just one specific division. We have about 5,000 individuals on probation, some of which, as you heard from Judge Moreland and you've heard from Judge Blackburn, 300 to 400 may be in our treatment courts, but we have other offenders that may not qualify or don't opt into that court, and we can definitely work on some more diversionary practices to show our neighborhood and community innovation and working together, and that is a trend that is running across the country as well. And I've talked to our probation department and also our traffic school department about the opportunity to bring to Metro Nashville Public Schools what we used to have a long time ago, which is driver's ed, but we want to bring Alive at 25 to our Metro Nashville Public Schools to make sure that those individuals are able to take that class and get certified. And then also with our probationers, connecting them to the resources that they need for proper reentry back into society. So we're only asking for a program director. We already have the probation. Those offenders are already on probation with those judges and divisions. So this will just be an added assistance to making sure that once the individual is on probation and or has been terminated from probation, that we're continuing to assist them in proper reentry and back into society, which again, everything that we're working on with our specialty courts is public safety.
One more comment. If you get your new courtroom in Capitol, it's my understanding, based on what I'm seeing here, is it would only require a single position
Right, that's all I got.
For a security officer.
for a security officer.
Now, right now, we're in a deficit. We have only 9 security officers.
Yeah, but you'd only need one more if you got your new courtroom. Is that the response?
That's the question.
That is correct. But we would like one security officer for each courtroom.
But
We're short one.
if you've got a new courtroom, you would need one FTE.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. To answer your question, yes.
Please.
Whatever you
We'll
think is
make
best,
that
Mayor.
one.
Yes.
Mr. Reevely, any questions? I also just want to say that Councilmember Erica Gilmore has also joined us. I know she's back there, and so is Councilman Pridemore, who is the budget chair, is with us today. So we appreciate that they've made time to come and be part of this process. Any other comments or anything else from you all? Well, I appreciate you. No, thank you, and thank you for the conversation. And thanks for being so precise on exactly what y'all need. TCA.3.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, I would be more than happy to provide to the statutes.
Please do. Thanks, y'all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.